I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
And away we go. Episode 1268 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. It is the day after we had Washington Commanders general manager Adam Peters and Washington Commanders head coach Dan Quinn speaking to reporters at the 2026 NFL Scouting Combine at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Peters and Quinn on Tuesday afternoon spoke to reporters via both press conferences and post-press conference sessions with reporters, as the post-press conference sessions with reporters were not infiltrated by non-local reporters. So the post-press conference sessions with reporters actually were more valuable than the actual press conferences. But whatever the case, a lot was said, a lot of ground was covered, and so we on this episode of the podcast have a lot to get to with you. Hello and welcome to this Wednesday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Good to have you with us. So much was said by Adam Peters and Dan Quinn on Tuesday afternoon that we're going to spend multiple episodes of the podcast unpacking everything. We on this episode of the podcast are going to focus on what was said regarding Commanders players in terms of free agency and contract situations. Next segment, discussion and analysis of comments from Adam Peters and Dan Quinn on Commanders offensive players in terms of free agency and contract situations, including the latest on a potential contract extension for left tackle Laremy Tunsil, the potential for the team re-signing tight end and pending unrestricted free agent Zach Ertz, insight on left guard and pending unrestricted free agent Chris Paul, and appreciation for tackle/guard Andrew Wylie of him agreeing to sign a contract extension. The following segment, discussion and analysis of comments from Adam Peters and Dan Quinn on Commanders' defensive players in terms of free agency and contract situations, including Peters confirming that the team is planning on having interior defensive lineman Daron Payne back for the 2026 season, the potential for the team re-signing linebacker and pending unrestricted free agent Bobby Wagner, and what Peters said about whether the Commanders soon will release cornerback Marshon Lattimore. Also on the show, I'll talk Washington Wizards and college basketball, or rebuilding and tanking Wizards. They on Tuesday night lost at the Atlanta Hawks 119-98, and we in college basketball had wins for number 11 Virginia and George Washington, and a loss for Georgetown, which now has lost 5 consecutive games, a 76-60 loss to Marquette at Capital One Arena on Tuesday night, and maybe the Hoyas' worst loss of the season. I'll explain why. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Email from Rick Proctor on my hair. Writes Rick, "Morning, Al. Trust all is well. I just couldn't let the reference on a recent podcast detailing your long hair pass without a comment. So to conjure up an image, are you a cross between Bon Jovi, Paul McCartney, or Leon Russell? Asking for a friend and fellow listeners, LOL, Rick." Thank you for the email, Rick. Yeah, my good friend, Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. I was on his podcast recently, and he in our recent conversations has been bringing up my hair. So I, for years, had really short hair. I would cut my hair with level 1 on the electric clipper that I have, but I now have hair down to my neck. The hair isn't super long, but this is the longest that my hair has been since 2003. So here's the deal with my hair. I, in January 2025, dealt with a major health problem, lost a lot of weight. I got down to around 155 pounds. I'm 6'1". I was 6'1", 155. Emmanuel Forbes Jr. called me up and told me I was skinny, okay? I looked emaciated, and it was during this time that I was due for a haircut, but didn't get one. And I decided not to cut my hair short because I thought that cutting my hair short while being a $155 would make me look even more emaciated. While I was sick, could barely eat, and of course, could not go to the gym. My first day back at the gym, I was sitting on a bench getting ready to do seated barbell military presses. Great exercise. But I was getting ready to do the seated barbell military presses at like a nothing weight, a total weight of like 65 pounds. And I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I was disgusted at what I saw. I was ticked off about having lost all of this weight. I was mad about having not done this podcast for weeks because I could barely speak while I was sick. And I still wasn't exactly sure what the heck had just happened to me. And I said to myself, stop whining like a little biatch and get to work, okay? I gave myself a pep talk, and I said to myself, shut up and lift. All right? Shut up and lift. And so that's what I did. I vowed to build back better. You perhaps have heard that phrase. That was my self-motivating mantra. Build back better. And I, in doing this, said, what the heck? Let the hair go. Let's see where this goes. And so here we are, more than a year later. I am happy to say that I'm up to around 190 pounds. I'm actually stronger than I was before I got sick. And yeah, I have not gotten a haircut since 2024. Look, at some point, I'm going to get a haircut. I mean, I don't want super long hair. Eventually, I'm going to go back to having short hair. So I need to figure out a plan here. But, I'm fortunate enough to where I still have my hair. I'm 46, and knock on wood, I'm not going bald. Not yet. I have mostly black hair. Some gray, yes, but mostly black hair. So for now, the hair is what it is. Not super long, but longish. And if there is a lesson in all of this, it is shut up and lift. That lesson will serve you well. When in doubt, when in a tough time, shut up and lift. Stop complaining, stop whining, stop worrying, and just be quiet and lift weights, man. You will feel a lot better. It is impossible not to. Weightlifting, exercise in general, a great antidote for many of life's problems. There is your life advice for this installment of the podcast. Hey, if you are listening to this podcast via Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can rate the podcast with a star rating. 5-star ratings are greatly appreciated. They help us out a lot. Thank you for doing them. So we had Washington Commanders General Manager Adam Peters and Washington Commanders head coach Dan Quinn on Tuesday afternoon speaking to reporters at the 2026 NFL Scouting Combine at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Peters and Quinn spoke to reporters via both press conferences and post-press conference sessions with reporters. Next segment, we'll talk Commanders defense in terms of free agency and contract situations. This segment, we talk Commanders offense in terms of free agency and contract situations. The Commanders' number one contract extension candidate for the 2026 offseason is left tackle Laremy Tunsil. The team this past March 15th announced having traded a second-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, a third-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, a fourth-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, and a seventh-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft to the Houston Texans for Tunsil, and a fourth-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. The Commanders acquired Tunsil with 2 seasons remaining on a 3-year contract extension that he signed with the Texans in March 2023. Tunsil had a strong 2025 season, played in 14 of the Commanders' 17 regular season games, and missed the last 3 games due to an oblique injury. His overall grade per Pro Football Focus for the 2025 regular season was 84.7. That's excellent. PFF grades are on a scale of 0 to 100. 60 is average. How about this? Tunsil in the 2025 regular season per PFF, over 490 pass blocking snaps, allowed just 15 pressures. That is superb. Tunsil is a franchise left tackle, and while next season will be his age 32 season, high-level offensive linemen age well. You don't have to worry about age with a franchise left tackle the way that you do with a running back or receiver or cornerback. And so the Commanders' contract extension negotiations with Tunsil this offseason should not be as complicated or contentious as the team's contract extension negotiations with receiver Terry McLaurin last offseason, training camp season, and preseason. During Adam Peters' press conference on Tuesday afternoon, had this exchange between Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4 and Peters.
Adam, you've talked about how important Laremy Tunsil is.
Yeah.
How important is it to get that done before the new league?
I don't want to put a timeline on it, JP, but it is really important for us, and we've been having talks, and we've been having good and productive talks with Laremy and his team, and, we're as motivated as ever to get that done, but I don't want to put a timeline on it. Obviously, I don't think either side wants to drag it on, but I don't think the league year is anything that's going to be a deadline of sorts.
All right, so Adam Peters did not want any part of calling the start of the 2026-2027 NFL League year a deadline for getting a contract extension with Laremy Tunsil done. By the way, Peters, at least publicly, should not call any date a deadline. Why lessen your negotiating leverage like that? More on the Laremy Tunsil situation. During Adam Peters' post-press conference session with reporters on Tuesday afternoon, had this exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Peters.
Going back to Laremy, so you brought up Terry, what's your confidence level that you can get it, that you're not going to have a repeat scenario? And are the talks further enough along, or the dialogue been good enough that you feel confident something will get done much sooner than later?
Yeah, I don't want to get into a confidence level thing there, but the talks have been positive. I have a ton of respect for Laremy, not just the player who's outstanding, but the person and the way he's approached everything since we've acquired him, from as a player, as a leader, taking the other guys under his wing, and just being a great overall locker room guy. In addition to the building, treats everyone with respect, the staff, everybody like that. So he's been everything we've asked for. So, and we've had good talks. So it's something, like I said earlier, we really want to get done, and we'll be really happy if it does. Yeah.
Something that came up during the joint season-ending press conference for Adam Peters and Dan Quinn on January 5th was the role that the contract extension saga of Terry McLaurin last offseason, training camp season, and preseason played in the Commanders going 5-12 in the NFL's 2025 regular season. And Peters, during that presser, indicated that he learned a lesson from the prolonged contract extension saga with Terry McLaurin. Engage in negotiations sooner. Although the reporting is that part of why the negotiations took so long is that McLaurin's agent, Buddy Baker, was being unreasonable in what he was asking for. He was asking for top-of-the-market money. But Peters indicated that he himself did learn a lesson: engage in negotiations sooner. So the following Commanders offensive players are set to be unrestricted free agents in the 2026 offseason. Quarterbacks Marcus Mariota, Josh Johnson, and Jeff Driscoll. Receivers Deebo Samuel Sr., Noah Brown, Treylon Burks, and Chris Moore. Tight end Zach Ertz. Running backs Austin Eckler, Jeremy McNichols, and Chase Edmonds. And offensive linemen Chris Paul, Trent Scott, and George Fant. And running back Chris Rodriguez Jr., he is set to be a restricted free agent in the 2026 offseason. And to add a key special team specialist to all of this, kicker Jake Moody, he is set to be a restricted free agent in the 2026 offseason. But I mentioned Zach Ertz. We on Tuesday morning had reports that Ertz is not retiring and wants to play next season. Ertz is set to be an unrestricted free agent this offseason. Next season would be be his age 36 season, but he's coming off a serious injury. Ertz in the Commanders' lovely 31-0 loss at the Minnesota Vikings this past December 7th suffered a torn right ACL. We, during Adam Peters' post-press conference session with reporters on Tuesday afternoon, had this exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Peters.
Seeing the production of tight ends just over these last couple of years and knowing Zach's, his contract's up, how important is it to get another pass catcher in that room, or what's sort of your vision there?
Yeah, I think starting with Zach, you really, it's hard to really quantify how good he is, and I think, his ability to get open and be a great, target on a third down or any passing down, being a quarterback-friendly person and getting the confidence of whatever quarterback he's playing with is something that's you can't really see on a 40 time or anything like that. He's always open. He makes big plays, and he's an incredible guy in the locker room. So that was a big loss when he went down. We'll keep the door open for him for sure. We've had a lot of talks with him personally and his agent in terms of just keeping that door open and seeing how he progresses with his injury. But you can't count on anything, right? So we have 4 guys under contract, I think, right now, and we'll look to kind of fill his role with a combination of those guys, but still we have some guys we really have a lot of confidence in there. John Bates has another level to go as a pass catcher. Ben's going to have a really good opportunity in this offense to show his versatility. Colson's a really athletic guy who can help in the passing game, and Lawrence Cager, we're really excited about him and his ability to help in the pass game. So with that group, we feel really good, but we wouldn't be opposed to adding another one.
So Adam Peters said that the Commanders are, quote, keeping that door open, end quote, for Ertz, and that the team has had, quote, a lot of talks, end quote, with Ertz and his agent about Ertz's progress and recovery. I would be surprised if the Commanders re-signed Ertz, given the need for the team to get younger and faster and better. But it is true that re-signing Ertz would cost very little. Also, Peters mentioned that the Commanders would not be opposed to adding a tight end to their current group of Ben Sinnott, John Bates, Colson Yankoff, and Lawrence Cager in terms of players under contract for the 2026 season. There are multiple appealing tight ends who are set to be unrestricted free agents, even with the Atlanta Falcons on Tuesday afternoon announcing having placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on tight end Kyle Pitts. But Isaiah Likely of the Baltimore Ravens comes to mind. Chigoziem Okonkwo of the Tennessee Titans comes to mind. Chigoziem Okonkwo, a product of the University of Maryland. The Commanders initially signed Zach Ertz in March 2024, signed him as an unrestricted free agent to a one-year contract. He came to the Commanders off in recent seasons, having missed a lot of time due to injury and having struggled. But Ertz for the Commanders played in all 17 of their games in the 2024 regular season and then played in all 3 of the team's games in the postseason for the 2024 season. Ertz over 17 games in the 2024 regular season, 66 receptions for 654 yards and 7 touchdowns on 91 targets. This gets forgotten, but Ertz in the Commanders' 55-23 loss at the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game on January 26, 2025 had a monster game. 11 receptions for 104 yards on 16 targets and playing on 80% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. He, for the game, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 82, the highest overall grade for any Commanders player who played on at least 25 offensive snaps in the game. The Commanders last March re-signed Ertz to a one-year contract. They re-signed him before he officially became an unrestricted free agent. He over 13 games for the Commanders in the 2025 regular season, had 50 receptions for 504 yards and 4 touchdowns on 72 targets. My 3 complaints with Zach Ertz. A, too many penalties. Ertz over 33 regular season and postseason games for the Commanders has been called for 12 penalties, all of which have been accepted. 10 of the penalties have been false start penalties. B, Ertz in the 2025 regular season had too many drops/catches that could have been made but weren't. And C, Ertz over his 2 seasons with the Commanders, not good at generating yards after catch. But he overall has been a positive for the team that he, up until this torn right ACL, ACL, had played in 33 of a possible 33 regular season and postseason games for the Commanders over his age 34 and age 35 seasons, was super impressive. But if you want to get younger and faster and better, re-signing Zach Ertz coming off a torn right ACL as he's going into his age 36 season isn't exactly the thing to be doing. I mean, you put it in those terms, right? You're re-signing Zach Ertz coming off a torn right ACL as he's going into his age 36 season. Well, everyone on the planet agrees that you as a team need to get younger, faster, and better. Another notable Commanders offensive player who is set to be an unrestricted free agent this offseason is left guard Chris Paul. The Commanders took Paul in the 7th round of the 2022 NFL draft out of the University of Tulsa. So he was drafted by Washington during Ron Rivera's time as the team's head coach in charge of player personnel. Paul, in a lot of ways, was a forgotten man, but he this past season ascended to being the team's starting left guard. He supplanted Brandon Coleman, who was the team's starting left guard for the first 2 games of the 2025 regular season. Paul, for each of the Commanders' final 15 games in the 2025 regular season, was the team's starting left guard and played on 100% of the team's offensive snaps. Yeah, final 15 games, he started each game at left guard. He played on 100% of the team's offensive snaps in each game. We, during Dan Quinn's press conference on Tuesday afternoon, had this exchange between John Keim and Quinn.
Chris Paul, honestly,
yeah.
The biggest thing from him, and I'm assuming asking about that.
Yeah, super proud of Chris. I thought the development, that he made and playing alongside of Laremy, I thought a couple of things that jump out to me, John. I thought like the combination blocks with the two of them, these are strong people that could move people off the line of scrimmage. And then I thought, because of Chris's athleticism, the things that showed up the most to me is him in pass protection. And so having the ability to mirror somebody, to stay in front, those were the things that I saw week after week from Chris. It's not easy, that spot, back up, but to see that time for him to develop, I thought that was a big deal and something I'm proud of him for sure.
So how big is two more?
Yes, but we're going through the whole process like everybody counts in that, not the same, but everybody's part of it. But, definitely somebody that, like, obviously we're keeping close tabs on. Adam and his team are going through that.
Well, if the Commanders this offseason do re-sign Chris Paul, they will be poised to go into the 2026 regular season with the same starting offensive line that the team had for the bulk of the 2025 regular season. Laremy Tunsil at left tackle, Chris Paul at left guard, Tyler Biadasz at center, Samuel Cosmi at right guard, and Josh Connerly Jr. at right tackle. As for another Commanders offensive lineman who started games for the team this past season, so we on Monday afternoon had the reports that the Commanders had agreed with tackle/guard Andrew Wylie on a 2-year, $7.5 million contract extension. A total no-brainer. That is a nothing contract in today's NFL for a versatile, dependable offensive lineman. It was last March that the team and Wylie agreed on a restructured contract, but he still had been set to be an unrestricted free agent this offseason, but now he's coming off the market. The 2026 season will be Wylie's age 32 season. The Commanders on March 16th, 2023 announced the signing of Wylie as an unrestricted free agent. He, over the 2023 and 2024 regular seasons, played in and started 29 of the Commanders' 34 games, all at right tackle. But he, this past season, had a reduced role. Wylie, in the 2025 regular season, played in 16 of the Commanders' 17 games, including 5 starts. He was the Commanders' starting right guard over weeks 3 through 6, while Sam Cosmi was on the reserve/physically unable to perform list. Wylie replaced Nick Allegretti, who got benched off being the Commanders' starting right guard for weeks 1 and 2. And then Wylie was the Commanders' starting right guard for the regular season-ending 24-17 win at the Philadelphia Eagles on January 4th. But all indications are that he last season handled his reduced role well. Here was Adam Peters during his press conference on Tuesday afternoon on Andrew Wylie.
Yeah, Andrew, one, I can't say enough good things about him, the person and the player. He's what we would call a true commander in terms of his work ethic, his competitiveness. He's an elite teammate, and he's super versatile. Like, I mean, he can line up at 4 spots, so he's super valuable. I think he's still got enough talent to start, and so he was a priority for us to bring back. And there's a number of those guys, but Andrew was at or near the top of that, and we're thrilled to have him back. And I just can't say enough good things about him. And the more of the guys like that you have, the better your team's going to be.
Adam Peters on Andrew Wylie, quote, "He's what we would call a true commander," end quote. How many of you cringed when you heard that?
He's what we would call a true commander.
Yeah, quote, "He's what we would call a true commander," end quote. It's funny how the perception of Andrew Wylie among Commanders fans has changed. He has gone from being mocked and criticized to now being viewed as a nice piece. But the change in perception does coincide with the change in role. Andrew Wylie as a starter, so-so. Andrew Wylie as a backup, good. Like, for a backup offensive lineman, he's good. This was Adam Peters during his press conference on Tuesday afternoon on what he this past season learned about Andrew Wylie.
Yeah, I think I learned a lot about him this year, and just the type of human being he is. Like, we had a contract that we had to restructure last year, and the way he responded to that is better than I could ever imagine myself responding to. Like, but he is an outstanding person, a team first person, and so that was the first part. But just being around him for another year as a human being and understanding what he means to that room and to the offense in general, just really impactful in a lot of different ways. And then obviously, you get onto the field, and a lot of it's, first it's the selflessness of going wherever we need him to go to help the team, and then 2, his talent and versatility to go to. It's really hard to move from the left to the right, from inside to outside. So you have to have a lot of talent and just really a great work ethic to be able to do that stuff. So couldn't be more impressed with him as a person or a player, and really honored to be working with him.
All right, the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. It will fight for you and win for you. Lead attorney Chris Nace is a big Commanders fan and big supporter of this podcast, and his firm wins trials. Just recently, an $8 million jury verdict in Baltimore City Circuit Court. If you have a case, contact the Nace Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group is tremendous. It is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. More now on the Washington Commanders off General Manager Adam Peters and head coach Dan Quinn on Tuesday afternoon, speaking to reporters at the 2026 NFL Scouting Combine at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Let's talk Commanders defense in terms of free agency and contract situations. The most significant item from Adam Peters on Tuesday afternoon came not from his press conference, but from his post-press conference session with reporters. He said that the Commanders are planning on having interior defensive lineman Daron Payne back on the team for the 2026 season, but also that the Commanders are not extending Payne. This confirms what Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack reported on January 26th. Ben on January 26th reported, quote, "Discussions between the two sides have focused on Payne playing out the final year of his contract without a financial restructure, pay cut, or extension," a source close to the situation told Last Man Standing, end quote. We, during Adam Peters' post-press conference session with reporters on Tuesday afternoon, had this exchange between Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4 and Peters.
Some similarities with Daron Payne's contract situation as there are with Tunsil. What are those conversations like with Payne? What's that status?
No, we haven't begun that, and I don't think we're going to explore that at this time. Really excited to have Daron with us next year, and we can probably address that at a later time, maybe after the year. But and I've talked with his agent about that. What I can say is I got a ton of respect for Daron. His toughness, his physicality, his leadership, his ability to play and be available all the time. And there's nobody tougher than him. And I think he's going to really have a chance to flourish in this new defense, where we'll be a little bit more multiple and allow him to move around a little bit. But right now, I think Laremy at this point is the only one we're talking to.
So, Adam Peters making it quite clear that the team is not talking contract extension with Daron Payne, but that the team is keeping Payne for the 2026 season. Man, it is crazy how this situation has turned. The widespread belief had been that the Commanders this offseason were likely to trade or release Payne due to him having not lived up to his big money contract extension, and his contract now being in a place to where releasing him made sense. But now the team clearly is planning on having Payne back. The Redskins took Daron Payne with the number 13 overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft out of the University of Alabama. He, over his first 4 NFL seasons, 2018 through 2021, was a pretty good player, but he also was an inconsistent player, and this was part of why the Commanders in the 2022 offseason didn't even offer Payne a contract extension, as best as we could tell. But Payne had a monster 2022 season, what was a contract season. The Commanders on March 13th, 2023, announced having signed Payne to a contract extension, what was a reported 4-year, $90 million extension, which came off the team on February 28th, 2023, having applied a franchise tag to Payne. But Payne, over 3 seasons since signing the extension, 2023 through 2025, has been a mediocre player. He has not lived up to the level of that extension. Daron Payne, per overthecap.com, has an average annual value, an AAV, of $22.5 million, ranking tied for number 10 among all NFL interior defensive linemen. He has not produced at the level of being top 10 in the NFL in AAV among interior defensive linemen. He, for the 2026 season, has a scheduled salary cap hit of $27.95 million per overthecap.com. Now, the cap is soaring, and the Commanders have a lot of cap space, so they absolutely can afford to keep Payne, and he has been very durable, and I'm sure that there is a belief within the team and among many of us that the team might get the best out of Payne this coming season due to it being a contract season. I get why the Commanders are keeping Payne for the 2026 season, especially considering the many holes that our team has on defense. But let me make this clear. Ain't no way that the Commanders should sign this guy to another big money contract extension. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. As things stand right now, this coming season should be Daron Payne's final season with the team. Let another team overpay him if he ends up having another great contract season. I hope that Payne has an outstanding 2026 season, but then let another team overpay him. We, during Dan Quinn's press conference on Tuesday afternoon, had this exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Quinn.
How do you think Daron's system
I think the versatility will help in some of that, Nikki. What's so much fun about coaching Daron, he's big enough to be a 3-4 end. You guys saw some of that here early on. He's got the strength that can play inside at nose tackle and quickness to move. So to see JK and he and Johnny, and how do we feature them on the field together some, having the 3 of those together, that excites me, honestly. These are guys that really love to battle and compete. And so because they're versatile, it gives Durante even more options of how to deploy and how to match up guys. So it's a big deal for us.
Daron Payne in the defense of the Commanders' new defensive coordinator, Daronte Jones. Daron under Daronte. What does Daronte have in mind for Daron? So the Commanders are keeping Daron Payne. Are they keeping linebacker Bobby Wagner, who's set to be an unrestricted free agent this offseason? The following Commanders' defensive players are set to be unrestricted free agents in the 2026 offseason. Interior defensive lineman Eddie Goldman, Shai Tuttle, and Sheldon Day. Linebacker Bobby Wagner. Edge defenders Dietrich Wise Jr., Von Miller, Jacob Martin, Preston Smith, Drake Jackson, and Jalen Holmes. And cornerbacks Jonathan Jones, Noah Igbenogany, and Antonio Hamilton Sr. Bobby Wagner has spent the last 2 seasons with the Commanders. He, for them, has been good against the run, effective as a blitzer, and durable. The major weakness has been pass coverage. The 2026 season will be his age 36 season, but he still can play. Wagner, for the 2025 regular season, had an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of 79.3. NFL insider Jordan Schultz, he on Tuesday afternoon in a post on X reported that Wagner, quote, fully intends to continue playing for a 15th NFL season in 2026, end quote. Dan Quinn, during his post-press conference session with reporters on Tuesday afternoon, gave a non-answer answer on Wagner. I won't waste your time or my time playing and listening to that answer. So we'll see whether the Commanders re-sign Wagner for a second consecutive offseason. Something that seems as certain as the sun rising in the east tomorrow is that the Commanders soon will release cornerback Marshon Lattimore. A, Lattimore has zero guaranteed money left on his contract. B, Lattimore has been a major disappointment for the Commanders in terms of his play since they acquired him via trade with the New Orleans Saints on November 5th, 2024, what was 2024 NFL trade deadline day. C, Lattimore with the Commanders has had a hard time staying healthy. Lattimore in the 2024 season was with the team for a total of 11 games, 8 regular season games, and 3 postseason games, but he, due to a troublesome hamstring, played in just 5 of the 11 games, 2 regular season games and all 3 postseason games, and then he, in the 38-14 loss to the Seattle Seahawks at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football this past November 2nd, suffered a season-ending torn ACL. And D, don't forget about this, Lattimore has had legal trouble. He, on January 7th, was arrested following a traffic stop in Lakewood, Ohio, was arrested on a possible charge of carrying a concealed weapon. The police report listed a 9mm Glock as evidence and listed a second possible charge of improperly handling firearms in a motor vehicle. Lattimore also was arrested in Ohio in March 2021, was initially charged with a felony for receiving a stolen firearm. The felony charge was later dismissed, but Lattimore pleaded guilty to carrying a concealed weapon, a misdemeanor. He received 1 year probation and a suspended 180-day jail sentence. Marshon Lattimore appears as good as gone. However, Adam Peters on Tuesday afternoon did not commit to anything. During his press conference on Tuesday afternoon, had this exchange between Ben Standig and Peters.
The expectations you guys are going to move on from Marshon Lattimore. You guys made a final decision on that?
No, we haven't made a final decision there. There's a lot of things that go into that, and we'll still have a few more conversations, Ben. But until then, he's still on our team.
Okay, so Adam Peters not wanting to say anything definitive about Marshon Lattimore, but if the Commanders were planning on keeping Lattimore, Peters could have / would have just said that. He did not. And so it would seem to remain the case that Marshon Lattimore is as good as gone. Marshon Lattimore not going to be here no more. Marshon Lattimore now is Marshon not going to be here no more. And the trade that Adam Peters made for Marshon Lattimore, has been a whiff of that. There is no doubt. The Commanders traded a 3rd-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, a 4th-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, and a 6th-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft to the Saints for Lattimore and a 5th-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Hey, here is an outstanding book for you if you're a Washington fan or for a Washington fan who you care about. RFK All Access by Scott Cunningham, who served as a photographer for NFL properties for years and who photographed the Redskins extensively during their glory days in the 1980s and early 1990s. Scott, via RFK All Access, has put together a compilation of his best Redskins photos, many of which are behind-the-scenes photos. Joe Gibbs, Jack Kent Cook, Richie Pettibone, the Hogs, the Posse, Sonny Sam and Frank, all and so many more are featured in this book, which is 392 pages of glorious Skins history, 5 pounds of Redskins gold. If you are a serious Washington fan, if you are a Skins historian, this book is a must-have. Makes for a terrific addition to any Skins theme man cave. Also makes for a great gift. I have the book. It is sensational. Heck, this is a book that has been endorsed by Joe Gibbs himself. Quote, "This is a great book filled with great memories," end quote. The book now is available in ebook form, and the book now is available for an all-time low price. Take advantage of this special sale in honor of Washington's offseason. RFK All Access. You can get the book by visiting rfkallaccess.com. And when you order the book, mention in the notes section that Al Galdi sent you. Doing that helps out this podcast a lot. That's rfkallaccess.com and mention that Al Galdi sent you. Well, Tuesday night was a good night for our Washington Wizards in their tank. A, they lost. B, the New Orleans Pelicans won. The Wizards lost at the Atlanta Hawks, 119-98 in the first of 2 consecutive games for the Wizards at the Hawks, and the Pelicans beat the Golden State Warriors, 113-109. Now, the Indiana Pacers and Brooklyn Nets did lose, but the Wizards now are 7 percentage points worse than the Pelicans as the Wizards tried to protect their reported top 8 protected first-round pick in the perceived-to-be-loaded 2026 NBA Draft. The Wizards in the NBA's 2025-2026 regular season now are 16-41, 4th worst record in the NBA. The Pelicans are 17-42. The Wizards got back Justin Champagnie and Tristan Vukcevic. Champagnie returned from a 1-game absence caused by a right knee injury. Vukcevic returned from a 1-game absence caused by a right hand contusion. But Alex Sarr did not play for a 5th consecutive game due to a right hamstring strain. Anthony Davis did not play for an 8th time in 8 games since being acquired by the Wizards via trade on February 5th. What was 2026 NBA trade deadline day. He's not playing due to a finger sprain on his left hand. D'Angelo Russell did not play for an 8th time in 8 games since being acquired by the Wizards via the Anthony Davis trade. Russell is being listed as not being with the team, and he may never play for our team. Trae Young did not play for a 21st time in 21 games since being acquired by the Wizards via trade on January 9th. He's not playing due to a right knee sprain and a right quadriceps contusion. And Cam Whitmore is done for the season due to right shoulder deep vein thrombosis. So the Wizards never held a lead. They allowed the Hawks to begin the game on a 7-0 run, during which the Wizards committed 5 turnovers. So the Wizards for the game committed 20 turnovers to the Hawks 11, got outscored in terms of points off turnovers, 23-7. The Wizards' leading scorer was Will Riley. He, in 29 minutes, 9 seconds as a reserve, had 18 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists versus 2 turnovers, and a plus-minus rating of +4. He went 1 for 2 on threes, 6 for 6 on twos, and 3 for 3 on free throws. Riley lately has been very impressive, was impressive again on Tuesday night.
Will Riley at the point of a Vukcevic screen. Right elbow back to Vukcevic through his hands. Loose, he's on the floor. Gets it to Riley, right wing for 3. It's there. Oh, Vukcevic, an assist from the floor. 109-79. Again, the Wizards actually having the better fourth quarter.
Yes. I tell you what, Will Riley continues to, just completely impress me with how efficient he is offensively. Tonight, despite the mayhem of this game, he's 6 of 7. He's got 13 points in 22 minutes. That's just getting it done.
Yes, it is. Dave Johnson and Glenn Consor on the Washington Wizards radio network. Another bright spot for the Wizards was Jameer Watkins. He in 27-16 as a reserve had 14 points, 2 steals, 2 rebounds, and a plus-minus rating of +9. He went 2 for 3 on threes and 4 for 5 on twos. Did not attempt a free throw. Next up for the Wizards at the Hawks, Thursday night at 7:30. And let's talk college basketball, and things now are even worse for Georgetown. The Hoyas in the 2025-2026 regular season fell to 13-15 overall, including 5-12 in the Big East, with a 76-60 loss to Marquette at Capital One Arena on Tuesday night. Georgetown now has lost 5 consecutive games, and this loss was especially bad. Georgetown for this game was a 2.5-point favorite per multiple outlets, and yet lost by 16 points. Georgetown blew a 7-point first-half lead. Again, was bad offensively. The Hoyas scored just 60 points, went just 4 for 25 on threes, and committed 15 turnovers. Did go 19 for 36 on twos, and did go 10 for 13 on free throws. But 6'4 Arizona transfer KJ Lewis and 6'4 Rutgers transfer Jeremiah Williams, they got hurt during the game. This is Georgetown was without 6'5 Baylor transfer Langston Love for an 8th consecutive game. Georgetown's leading scorer was 7'1 St. John's transfer Vincent Iwuchukwu. He in 25 minutes, 3 seconds as a reserve had 19 points, 7 rebounds, including 3 offensive boards and 1 assist versus 2 turnovers. He went 0 for 1 on threes, 8 for 11 on twos, and 3 for 3 on free throws. But this season number 3 for Ed Cooley as Georgetown head coach has unraveled. Here was the opening statement of Cooley's post-game press conference on Tuesday night.
Yeah, where do you start, right? Obviously very disappointed in our loss. Obviously worried about KJ and Jeremiah. A couple of injuries. Hopefully they're not lasting, but, say a prayer for them. Credit Marquette. I thought they were lackluster to come out, and I think we did everything to help them beat us. We helped ourselves today lose the game. Turned the ball over, didn't play with a growl, didn't play with a thrust. In these Big East games, the dog days of February, the teams that want it the most are winning. And right now it's very disappointing as we're not playing the way we should be playing at home. Having 2 league wins at home, back-to-back games where we were lackluster with our energy. Really some soul searching in our locker room definitely going on, definitely with myself. But, we'll move on, prepare for Xavier. We need a day off, play for Xavier, and then go down the road. Got to find a way to win our final home game with whenever the next time that is. But just hasn't been what we wanted. It's a lot of frustration around, just around Hoya Nation. But you know what? It's part of what we do. We'll rise above it, and we'll prepare for the next game.
All right, next up for Georgetown at Xavier Saturday afternoon at 1:30. Meantime, number 11 Virginia continues to roll. It in this regular season improved to 25-3 overall, including 13-2 in the ACC, with a 90-61 win over NC State at John Paul Jones Arena in Charlottesville, Virginia on Tuesday night. UVA won its 9th consecutive game, won by 29 points despite facing an NC State team that came into the game 10-4 in the ACC in this regular season. UVA's defense was great. The Cavaliers held NC State to just 61 points, including just 19 points in the first half. The Cavs held NC State to just 9 for 33 on threes and just 11 for 35 on twos. And the Cavs totaled 12 blocks. 7-foot German true freshman Johan Grunlow, he in 18-19 as a starter had a whopping 8 blocks. 7-foot Nigerian Kansas State transfer Ugana Onyenso, he in 1958 as a reserve had 4 blocks. 2 international bigs for the Cavs combining for 12 blocks. During the postgame press conference of UVA head coach Ryan Odom on Tuesday night, had this exchange between Jeff White, director of news content for VirginiaSports.com, and Odom.
We've asked a lot about the shot blocking of Johan and Ugo. Those guys took it to another level tonight. What impact did that have on this game, and what has it had on the defense as a whole?
Yeah, when they can clean up, a shot or somebody on a downhill, it can turn into offense for us on the other side. And, Johan was unbelievable tonight, having 8 blocks. That's impressive. And he was just very clean with it. Like, he was there with his body in between them and the basket, and a couple times came out of nowhere, like he did the other night. Just really excited for his, development, and just the energy that he's playing with right now is really, really solid.
Yeah, also UVA's offense was very good. The Wahoos scored 90 points, went 12 for 26 on threes, 19 for 32 on twos, and 16 for 18 on free throws, and had 17 assists versus 12 turnovers. So UVA's leading scorer was 6'9" Belgian true freshman Testa Ritter. He in 25-58 as a starter, had 19 points, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 assists versus 1 turnover. He went 1 for 2 on threes, 6 for 8 on twos, and 4 for 4 on free throws. I tell you, UVA right now is playing like a legitimate Final Four contender. And next up for Virginia is a monster game. Number 11 Virginia at number 1 Duke, Saturday at noon. Also, George Washington, it on Tuesday evening made program history. The Revolutionaries in this regular season improved to 16-12 overall, including 7-8 in the A-10. With a 104-77 win at LaSalle on Tuesday evening. The 104 points are the most points ever for GW in regulation in an A-10 game. GW got back 2 key players in Rafael Castro and Boo Boo Benjamin and was tremendous offensively. This is the 4th season for Chris Caputo as GW head coach. His team does have problems defensively, but offensively, this is one of the better GW teams in a while. Next up for George Washington, home to Dayton, Friday night at 7. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Thursday show, episode 1269, will provide you with more on the Washington Commanders. Also on Thursday's show, discuss the Washington Capitals. They on Wednesday night begin their post-Olympics break portion of the NHL's 2025-2026 regular season. The Caps are home to the Philadelphia Flyers Wednesday night at 7. And on Thursday's show, we'll talk college basketball. Maryland is at number 12 Nebraska Wednesday night at 7. George Mason is at St. Joseph's Wednesday night at 7. And Navy is at Loyola Maryland Wednesday night at 7. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I'll talk to you on Thursday.
Yeah, Andrew, one, I can't say enough good things about him, the person and the player. He's what we would call a true commander.